It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
So we've got a busy football show this evening. There's a fair amount going on. Live football continues in the Premier League. We have Cardiff City 0, we have Everton 1, that's after 65 minutes. Huddersfield 10-0, Wolves 0 after 62 minutes. Leicester City now 2-0 up against Brighton, and Newcastle after 48 minutes are 2-0 up against Burnley. El Clasico is happening tomorrow in the Copa del Rey. It is the first of two El Clasicos happening across 5 days. Andy West is going to join us later on in the show to discuss goings on there, including Gareth Bale not loving life, and visibly so. He's on the front page of Marca at the weekend, pushing away some teammates who were trying to celebrate his penalty with him. And it was called an ugly gesture on the front page of Marca. So it seems all is not well with Gareth Bale. He's not starting at the moment for Madrid. So two El Clasicos on the way, starting with the first in the Copa del Rey tomorrow. So Andy West is on the way. In the meantime, Brendan Rodgers is watching his Leicester City winning against Brighton this evening. The news all came through very fast this afternoon. And earlier on, we spoke with Robert Grieve, who's based in Glasgow. He's the chief football writer with the Scottish Sun. By the way, at that stage, we didn't have the news that Damien Duff is now part of Neil Lennon's backroom team at Celtic, but that has since been confirmed. So when Robert Grieve joined us earlier on, I first asked him, given the frustration Rodgers clearly had with the Celtic board over the last 18 months or so, was his departure today a big surprise?
I would say a monumental surprise, Joe. Good evening. I think obviously since the weekend when news broke that Claude Puel has been sacked by Leicester, we immediately knew or informed that Leicester had serious intentions of making Brendan Rodgers their next manager. But I think the assumption initially certainly was it would be from the summer. I think most observers looking at it thought that Brendan Rodgers would hang off and at least put him on hold until the end of this season. But here we are, 40 hours since that result, since Puel's out of job and Brendan Rodgers is gone. I think the whole timing of the whole thing has been the whole staggering aspect of it. Not so much that Brendan Rodgers has become or agreed to become the Leicester manager, but the fact that he's gone so quickly. Yeah,
he is in the midst of going for a treble again, and or treble for a third time, let alone again. He's in the midst of doing that. You suspect that would be a historic achievement that he would like to see through. I suspect Celtic fans are feeling pretty sore about that.
Yeah, certainly the ones, if you look in social media, you don't have to look very far to see how Celtic fans are thinking. Even in the office here, there's some Celtic fans, and they're quite astonished by the whole turn of events. Brendan Rodgers couldn't have done a better job at Celtic in his time in Scotland. It was remarkable what he did, what he was on course of achieving, as you say, the treble, unprecedented. So yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. The fact that in Celtic, albeit are clear favourites to win the title. They've got obviously the Scottish Cup game at the weekend, the League Cup there already. So the fact that they were so close to something which I don't think will ever be done again, it makes it all the harder for Celtic fans to take that at such an important time with only 2 months left of the season. Brendan Rodgers has chose to walk away from that. He didn't hide from, or he made clear certainly from day one how much of a Celtic fan he was, and the Celtic fans clearly bought into that. I think many of them are today wondering how true that is, given the circumstances of his departure.
Yeah, for all his talk of it being such a special club, it's not like he's left for the Real Madrid job here. He's gone to Leicester, you know, and I would think one of the reasons that maybe Celtic fans might be feeling somewhat sore or upset is for all Rodgers' talk of it being such a special club. He's on the cusp of doing something historic at this very special club, and he's gone to Leicester. Is Celtic's stature so small that even just a little flicker of interest from Leicester is enough to take you away from this historic achievement? That's almost a surprising thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, had this been Manchester United or Manchester City or even Tottenham, then I think you could have far more understanding about it. But as you say, it's Leicester City, albeit Premier League champions a couple of years ago, and obviously the money that they have available to them and to the next manager. That's clearly what it's been about for Brendan Rodgers. I think he does have a genuine affection for Celtic. I don't think that was all bluster by any stretch of the imagination. I think he was certainly true to that. But at the end of the day, he's a football manager. And football managers want to operate at the highest level. They want to work with the best players in the best leagues, and they want to be able to sign the best players. So Brendan Rodgers, I think, came to the conclusion that he'd maybe taken Celtic as far as he could take them. Certainly in the European campaigns he's had, he didn't quite have the impact he would have hoped. Obviously, some players have come and gone, and as I say, he was unable to sign the top quality players several times that he wanted. So I think there became a realisation from Brendan Rodgers that he was going to have to go to realise his ambitions again of operating at the highest level. Now, I agree with you. For me, Celtic's a far bigger club than Leicester City, but the long and short of it is that Leicester City are an English Premier League club. Brendan Rodgers' wages, apart from anything else, will go through the roof from even the high salary he was on at Celtic Park. But more than that, he can now operate in the transfer market at the level that he expects. So it may not be the biggest club in the world. It may not be of the same stature as Celtic. I don't think any Leicester City fan would claim that to be the case, but it's a club operating at the highest level, and that's clearly been the lure for Brendan Rodgers. Yeah, no, it's certainly wealthier. I mean, even the lowest Premier League club is certainly wealthier than Celtic. That is just the nature of Premier League finances in this day and age. It's just, and not to harp on about it, because I want to move on and talk to you about other aspects of the move, it's just for Rodgers, this move on the cusp of doing the treble will leave a bad taste, will tarnish the reign somewhat, and you just wonder, is it worth doing that? Because I suspect if he was to move in the summer, for all the reasons you've just outlined, i.e. finances and salary and, I've taken this club as far as I can take it realistically, all of those reasons in the summer, he goes, I think, with the understanding maybe of the Celtic fans, where now there's almost an element of, well, does this not mean very much to you? This treble thing is historic to us, and you're heading off in February? Yeah, I mean, not only that, I mean, every Celtic game you go to, the Celtic fans sing about Brendan Rodgers being here for 10 in a row. That's very much something that the Celtic fans are thinking about. The kind of league achievement, which is a couple of years away. That's what they think, that's what they want, and they were convinced that Brendan Rodgers was going to lead them towards that. Now here we are, they've not even won 8 in a row yet, and he's gone. So I think there's absolutely no doubt that the Celtic fans are stunned by this, and as you say, it's the timing of it. Had he gone in the summer, had he won 8 in a row, which I think Celtic have every chance to still will do, I think most Celtic fans would pretty much accept that. They would think 3 years he's won, especially if he wins the treble, as you say. If he was to go in, if he was to have decided to go in the summer, I think the vast majority of Celtic fans would have wished him well. I think now this does certainly leave a sour taste in the mouth. The fact that it's the timing of it. Celtic have got big games coming up, albeit they're ahead in the title race. They're looking good for the title again, but this could easily disrail Celtic. They've got a key game tomorrow night against Hearts at Newcastle, which is historically a very difficult game for them. And then obviously it's the Scottish Cup clash against Hibs at Easter Road at the weekend. So it's two monumental games in the context of the season. And here we are, Brendan Rodgers deciding on either of these games that it's time to go. As you say, the treble is something which Celtic fans are passionate about. As I say, the 10 in a row aspect of it is also something. As I say, they sing about it every game. Brendan Rodgers is here for 10 in a row. Well, clearly he's not. Yeah, and look, I mean, maybe 10 in a row was always going to be ambitious, but I think most reasonable Celtic fans would have understood if he had left in the summer. So that's why the timing did strike me as very odd. He does tarnish the treble. He does, I think, risk the ire of them. You wonder what reception he might get when he goes back to Celtic Park down the line, whereas if he'd gone in the summer, it would be nothing but goodwill and applause in the main. Do we know, Robert, has Rodgers been approached firmly by Premier League clubs over the last 2-3 years? Is this like, the first bit of Premier League interest that has come his way and he's jumped at it, or has he turned down offers? Do we know? Well, there's certainly been a lot of speculation and a lot of interest. I don't know if in terms of firm offers what's come his way. I do believe there was an offer from China last summer, late last summer, which I'm led to believe he was actually seriously interested in, but the Celtic board put the blockers on that, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can imagine that the money that would be available for someone, a manager of Brendan Rodgers' stature, to work in that part of the world. But yeah, there's always been interest, and he's always said the right things. You don't have to look very far back through the last couple of years in quotes from Brendan Rodgers to see that he makes it very loud and very clear that Celtic was his dream job. You know, he said all the right things, and each time he says it, the Celtic fans were more and more convinced that he was going to be staying here for the long haul. I think looking back and in retrospect, he maybe wishes he was a little bit more honest about that. But then who's to say? Maybe he was honest at the time. Maybe things have changed, and maybe, as I say, the relationships he has at Celtic Park have altered to the extent that he's decided that he was going to have to go, or he was wanting to go the next opportunity. In my opinion, Leicester City have given him almost an ultimatum. It's either take the job now or don't take it at all. They weren't willing to wait, I don't think, until the summer. And I think they've maybe emphasised to Brendan Rodgers that this is an opportunity that isn't going to be there in the summer. So I think they forced his hand, and Brendan Rodgers has clearly decided that he was willing to take that opportunity when it was there. Now, he must know he's a clever man, very intelligent man. He will know how the Celtic fans now think of him. And there's absolutely no doubt about it. His reputation at the club has absolutely been tarnished. And the Celtic fans don't now think of him as they did 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
That's just factual, and there's no getting away from it.
No, I think you're right.
I think if you look at the job he's done in the last 2.5 years, it's been absolutely phenomenal.
So what about Neil Lennon then is the replacement, everybody's saying?
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. I know Peter Lawwell, the chief executive, was interviewed this afternoon, one of the TV channels, and he pointed to maybe one or two others being potential candidates for the post, but I'm led to believe that Neil Lennon will be paraded, if not tonight, by tomorrow morning, and I fully expect him to be in the dugout at Tynecastle tomorrow night. It's staggering to think about it. Just a month or so ago, he was the Hibs manager, in 8th position in the league. Obviously been sacked from that position after a clear fallout with the hierarchy there. And here we are, a couple of weeks of unemployment for Neil Lennon, and he's back in the job at Celtic. For me, it's a good appointment for Celtic. Someone who obviously knows the club well, knows the environment well. Clearly, it was an environment which Neil Lennon could only take so much of in his last time at Celtic, and he decided to step aside from it. But Celtic need a safe pair of hands for the run into this season. They need someone who knows the club, who knows what's expected, and I think it's a shrewd appointment from Celtic if they can get over the line, which I fully expect them to do. Whether or not Neil Lennon is a man to take the club forward in the long term, in terms of from the summer onwards, I'm not so sure. I wonder if Celtic will be looking at alternatives for the longer term. But certainly between now and the summer, I think it's a shrewd appointment from Celtic.
And what's his stock like with Celtic fans? Will he be well received?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, I think the vast majority would welcome Neil Lennon back. They know what they're getting with him. He had a very successful time at Celtic, obviously. Obviously did very well in European competition as well, beating Barcelona. He was a manager at that point. So I think Neil Lennon's stock with Celtic fans is high. And I think the vast majority will welcome him back. There obviously will be some who will be would be looking for maybe a bigger name, but at this time of the season, I don't think Celtic can spend too much time looking around. I think they have to make an appointment quickly, and I think that's how they felt about it. And as I say, I think Neil Lennon is someone who is more than capable of coming in and galvanising the squad and getting the results that Celtic fans expect in the coming weeks.
Okay, interesting times. Robert, while I have you, the other interesting story emanating out of Scottish football over the last couple of weeks, was the Steve Clarke post-match comments. They were after Kilmarnock were beaten by Rangers in the Scottish Cup at Ibrox. Here's a quick reminder. I think people have generally seen the press conference, quite an emotive one.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's nice being back in the west of Scotland, really nice. When I was approached by Rangers about taking over the job here, I was assured. Now we don't have that in the west of Scotland anymore. It's gone. Yeah, they can call me a no problem, thanks guys, no problem. But they call me a come on. We're living in the dark ages. They're not allowed to call my assistant a black bee, yeah, but they can call me that's correct? Is that correct? What are we doing in Scotland? You know, I wake up every morning and I thank Chelsea for coming and taking me away from the west of Scotland, because my children don't understand this. They don't have anything to do with this. My children have nothing to do with it. They don't understand. So thankfully, when I go down there, my children, my grandchildren, they don't need to worry about this. So, fantastic to be back in Scotland. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, Steve Clarke. Were you in the press conference by any chance?
No, as a matter of fact, I wasn't. I was in Valencia covering Celtic last week when it happened. Yeah, obviously heard all about it. I've seen the quote since. Yeah, it's a sad reflection in Scottish football. Quite frankly, there's been too much of that sort of thing in recent times. A few days earlier, only Chris Boyd, the Kilmarnock striker, was abused by Celtic fans, and just a few days after that, Steve Clarke was abused by Rangers fans. It's not good. It doesn't paint Scottish football in a good light at all. And the sooner something's done about these chants and this abuse, the better. Because I say it doesn't paint Scottish football in the positive light that we all want the game to be covered in.
Robert, in 2007, as I understand it, the league officials were intent on getting tough on this issue. There was an announcement, there was a sliding scale of sanctions, there were financial penalties, there were even point deductions, even the threat of closing stadiums. That all seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, it didn't happen. There's not been tough enough sanctions. The clubs need to get tougher. There's absolutely no doubt about it. SFA, SPFL will have to get together with the clubs and bring tougher sanctions in for these kinds of offences, if you want to put it that way. Strict liability is something clubs aren't willing to go for. The idea that clubs should take responsibility for their own fans' behaviour is something that that clubs aren't willing to accept. I think that would be something I think they have to look at now, because I say, as the things stand, there is no real consequence for fans behaving this way. And while that's the case, I don't think things are going to improve, which doesn't do anyone any good in this country. They say strict liability, whether it's points deductions, closing stands, or some kind of financial fine. I think that's the only way that fans are going to get it into their heads that this shouldn't be tolerated. But it's clearly a wider problem. But sooner those at the top of their game knock some heads together and come up with some kind of plan to attack the situation and the problem, then the better.
So Clarke said to call me a Fenian bastard, where we live in the dark ages. You made the point there, it's a wider problem. I'm interested in that. I don't obviously spend much time in Scotland. Is sectarianism alive and well in the Scottish streets and in Scottish life, or is it that football grounds are one of the last safe havens where people who don't usually call other people Fenian bastards do call people Fenian bastards and feel they can get away with it?
Yeah, you wouldn't hear it down the street. I'd be very surprised if you were to walk down the street and hear that sort of language. But as you know, you go into a football stadium and people behave in a way that they find that they certainly wouldn't behave walking down the street. As you say, whether it's been called a Fenian bastard or an orange bastard, it happens at football stadiums, and it shouldn't happen. But that's unfortunately the world that we live in here. That supporters go to football stadiums and behave in a way that they think is acceptable in football stadiums, when they wouldn't necessarily behave that way in their homes or walking down the street. So I wouldn't say, it's clearly there is an issue there which has to be addressed, but I think the football environment certainly brings out the worst in people. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
What about Steven Gerrard's reaction? I thought it was the least he could have done. I wasn't overly impressed, I have to say, with Steven Gerrard's reaction. He gave his initial comment, said we don't want that kind of thing. I mean, he absolutely did say we don't want that kind of thing. I wouldn't have said he went above and beyond. I wouldn't say he led the fight in any great way. I saw he cancelled a Channel 4 interview because the interviewers wanted to talk about sectarianism in Scottish football, so he cancelled the interview completely. It seems he does not want to get even within 100 miles of criticising his own fans. I get that, but it's not exactly heroic either.
It's a thorny topic, clearly. It's a thorny topic for him, and he maybe doesn't want to go down that road. Maybe as a Celtic Rangers manager, he has some kind of responsibility. But in fairness to Rangers, in fairness to Dave King, I think Dave King, the chairman, came out very quickly after the Steve Clarke episode. I think he issued a statement which I thought was very good. He made a sincere apology to Steve Clarke. He said it was unwarranted abuse. So I think he led from the front in that score. Whether it's down to Steve Gerrard or not, I'm not so sure. But certainly from the top at Rangers, I think Dave King at least said the right things. But as I say, it's about action. Whether it's Celtic or Rangers, and there's a problem on both sides. They both, as clubs, have to take responsibility for this. One of the problems we have here is that if you criticise one club, you get accused of why you're not criticising another club. So there has to be an acceptance on every level that there is an issue that has to be dealt with. And the sooner that happens, the better, and the more chance we have of driving out of the game, because Scottish football's got so much going for it. Steven Gerrard here, who's a fantastic name. Brendan Rodgers obviously just left, but again, a big personality and a big character for Scottish football, and it raised the levels here. So there's so much positivity in one sense. The national team as well looks as though it's heading back in the right direction with potentially qualifying for a major tournament. So we don't need this. In this day and age, 2019, Scottish football should be ahead of this. It should be a thing of the past. But it takes the clubs involved, and it takes the league, sponsors, everyone involved to grab this thorny issue and deal with it. And until that happens, or the sooner that happens, the better. Yeah,
I think you're right. And don't get me wrong, there are idiots, absolute idiots on both sides. I fully appreciate that point. As a matter of interest, has it improved in any way? Like, we had Graham Souness on the show, funny enough, last week, and he was just talking about the pressure cooker that it was in Glasgow in the 90s, early 90s, when he was there. Is it better than it was in the 90s now, or fairly similar?
Well, funny enough, I was talking about this last week after the incidents, and there was people I was speaking to making the point that it's maybe as bad as it was maybe 20 years ago. Right. Certainly, there was a lull in that kind of abuse and that kind of language, and here it is back again. So, there's no doubt it died away. Obviously Rangers weren't operating at the same level as Celtic for a number of years. So I don't think that's any coincidence, but. Yeah, there's no doubt it's reared its ugly head again in recent years. If you go to Rangers away games, Celtic away games, there is language heard, songs being chanted that it shouldn't be chanted.
Right.
So whether it's any worse or any better than it was 20 years ago, that's almost irrelevant. It's not correct. It's not good enough in this day and age. Whether it was good enough or accepted 20 or 30 years ago, it's not accepted. It shouldn't be accepted now. And the sooner, as I say, I keep repeating myself, but we need the powers that be to deal with this. And maybe the fact that it has reared its ugly head again in recent weeks and recent months will be the catalyst for people to actually deal with it.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
Time will tell. Maybe Steve Clarke has done everybody a service by speaking so honestly. Robert Grieve, Chief Football Writer for the Scottish Sun. Thanks a million.
No problem. All the best.
There you are, Robert Grieve speaking to us earlier on this afternoon. Latest in the Premier League, Newcastle against Burnley. They're 2-0 up. Let's go over to Stephen Goldsmith.
Newcastle 2, Burnley 0. We've seen bits in terms of response by Burnley in the second half. Charlie Taylor put a good cross in that just evaded Chris Wood, who was in a good position. Czarkowski has also put a free header over the bar. For the home side, Almiron was played in through on goal, but he hesitated and Tom Heaton came out and smothered superbly. First half goals by Sher and Longstaff. Still the difference here, Newcastle 2, Burnley 0.
So from Newcastle to Cardiff, they're against Everton this evening. Lee Stott there.
Time running out for Cardiff. It's still Cardiff City 0, Everton 2. The visitors well in command. Sigurdsson with both goals. Cardiff boss Neil Warnock's brought on all three of his substitutes, Patterson, Murphy and Ward, but no impact at all so far. Cardiff 0, Everton 2.
Just a few minutes to go on the other two games this evening. 0-0 between Huddersfield and Wolves, and then Brendan Rodgers Leicester are 2-1 up against Brighton. Few texts in on that. The very fact that the treble or the 10 in a row is being discussed tells us just how little Brendan Rodgers has to achieve at Celtic. The only thing absent is a decent run in Europe, and without money it's never going to happen. Leicester gave him a route back into the arena of big clubs, big trophies. Why wouldn't he take it, says CJ. I think that's fair. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Maybe the timing a little bit curious, but that would be the only issue, I suppose. Leicester seems like a pretty good move on the face of it for Rodgers. They're about as high up a club as he's going to get in the Premier League. We're going to cross over to Spain next. Real Madrid play Barcelona tomorrow, second leg of the Copa del Rey, and then El Clasico is on at the weekend as well in the league. Interesting times at both clubs. We're going to chat to Andy West. That's next.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by the new and improved Boyle Sports Bet Builder. Now with 44 markets to choose from on every match.
The Hard Shoulder.
He pleaded not guilty, I understand, and today he was sentenced to 4 years in prison. What's your feelings about the conviction? Are you satisfied with it?
No, I feel nothing towards Michael Shine. He robbed me of my innocence. He took my virginity age 11, and I've been 45 years waiting for this day.
The Hard Shoulder with Ivan Yates.
With Nissan.
Weekdays from 4 on News Talk.
It's giving your teammates a lift to training on Saturday morning.
Right, girls, everyone in?
The Sunday kickabout in the park, or a sneaky five-a-side after work. It's the Liverpool fan hoping this is gonna be their year.
Yes!
At Coca-Cola, we're celebrating where everyone plays because we're a nation of super supporters. Share the passion. Coca-Cola, official soft drink partner of the Premier League.
So they said, Deirdre, we want you to be the voice of appliances delivered. I'll want a few juicy perks, says I. I'll want the fastest delivery and hassle-free installation on everything I buy, and I want the very best prices. And you can take away all my old appliances and all the annoying cardboard as well. You're on, they said. Tough negotiator, aren't I?
Deirdre, they do that for everyone.
Shut the fridge door. OK, then I want that fridge to be full of champagne, and I want the washing machine filled with very expensive lingerie and a massive telly. Shop the full range and see how much you can save at appliancesdelivered.ie.
OK, so you're off to Dublin, maybe for an Aviva Stadium event, a concert or a show at the Three Arena, RDS or Bord Gosh. You'll be needing a great place to stay, a place that's close to the entertainment and just minutes from Dublin city centre. A place with beautiful modern rooms, great bar and restaurant. A place you can book online and get the guaranteed best rates and offers direct. Well, thank goodness there's the Sandymount Hotel. Visit sandymounthotel.ie for details and bookings.
A dog like me isn't easily impressed, but your man doesn't seem to be doing too bad with the business. Not that I tell him. Even saved a few quid by insuring the van with the AA, so I can continue to sit up here, riding shotgun, lord of all I see, I tell you. If I two tails, I'd wag them.
Did you know that the AA does van insurance too? Go to the AA.ie and get €75 off today. Who's got clever van insurance? Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium of €339. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The acclaimed National Theatre production of Warhorse returns to Dublin due to popular demand. This 5-star smash hit brings astonishing life-size puppets to breathing, galloping, charging life on stage. Experience the entertainment phenomenon from the 10th to the 27th of April at Bord Gosh Energy Theatre. Tickets are on sale now. See boardgoshenergytheatre.ie for details.
With Virgin Media, you can build up the entertainment and tear down the price. Switch to Virgin Media today and get superfast broadband and TV for just €49 a month for an awesome 12 months. The sale that stacks up. Hurry, sale ends February 27th. See virginmedia.ie.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. 12-month contract. Offer ends 27th of February 2019.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back, latest in the Premier League. Not much has changed. Everton still 2-0 up away to Cardiff, 90th minute there. Huddersfield 0, Wolves 0, 89th minute there. Leicester 2-1 up on Brighton after 90 minutes and 77 minutes gone at St James's Park. Newcastle 2, Burnley 0. In fact, it's just gone full time, or it's not gone full time rather. There's been another goal in Cardiff. Everton 3-0 to Everton now. That's on 90 minutes. So a much needed win for Marco Silva, who sat down with the Everton chairman just this week to chat about things. Sigurdsson with 2, and then Dominic Calvert-Lewin with Everton's 3rd on 90 minutes. So that is going to be a very comfortable win for Everton away to Cardiff. We're joined on the line by Andy West. Evening, Andy.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us. Copa del Rey at the Bernabeu tomorrow, second leg. It's 1-1 there. And 3 days later, Real Madrid and Barcelona meet in the league again. So familiarity breeding contempt. Not that there's not lots of contempt already. Barcelona top of the table, 57 points. Real Madrid are 3rd, 48 points. The league really is done and dusted from a Madrid point of view, Real Madrid point of view at this stage. I was reading, let's jump in through Gareth Bale to talk about what's going on at both clubs. I was reading Richard Fitzpatrick in the Irish Times. He was talking about Bale. He wrote a really interesting piece. And he kicked things off on Sunday evening when Madrid played Levante. It was 1-1 when Bale came on. In a huff was Richard's sense. He hasn't been able to regain his starting position since coming back from injury a month ago. That's Bale's 23rd injury in his Real Madrid career. And to add insult to injury, he was Solari's second choice of sub. So he takes the penalty 2 minutes on. There's no Benzema on the pitch, no Ramos. Bale scores. And he shrugged off Lucas Vazquez, who was celebrating with him, or trying to. Made the front pages of a few papers. Marca described it as an ugly gesture. So Gareth Bale, not a happy bunny.
No, and it was a very ugly gesture, and he didn't just shrug him off, he almost pushed him off. It was quite aggressive the way he did it. And the Spanish press has made a big deal out of this in the last couple of days. Not just that, there was a film captured him warming up on the sidelines with all the substitutes just before the first substitution was made. And when he saw that he wasn't the first player to come on, he immediately turned around, walked back to the bench and sat down. He voluntarily ended his warm-up. And then they captured him laughing sarcastically as the sub, it was Fede Valverde, a young midfielder, was brought on, and he was left sitting there. And it just didn't look good at all. He obviously is very unhappy not to be playing. And we know that he gets like this because he admitted very recently that at the end of last season he was very unhappy, and that when he came on in the Champions League final from the bench, he was still pretty angry. He admitted that himself. Yeah. Same situation now, so he's reacting in the same way. And it just doesn't help his image. He never has really made that much effort to engage with fans or the media. And when this kind of thing happens to him, then he's very vulnerable to being attacked, as he is at the moment. And it's going to be really interesting to see, firstly, if he plays tomorrow and on Saturday, and what kind of reception he gets from Real Madrid fans, because we all know Real Madrid fans don't mind whistling at their own players from time to time. So that's going to be interesting to see. He's been there 6 years now. It actually doesn't reflect very well on him that he has no Spanish. It just doesn't. He should have made more of an effort, you would have to say, if he was genuinely trying to integrate. I have a bit more sympathy for him. You know, some of his teammates have hung him out to dry a little bit. There was I'm not sure who it was. Was it Marcelo? But somebody was saying, well, he doesn't come out to dinner with us because he has to be in bed by 11 o'clock. Okay, look, maybe you could argue that's some kind of professionalism. But then again, look, Garrett, go nuts. Why don't you stay out till 11:30 some night? Yeah, if you've spent 6 years in Spain, you adapt to the local ways of doing things. You don't have to, he can live in his own bubble, and that's what he's doing. And I think you've got to have, you can't have it both ways. If you don't want to make an effort to integrate, if you don't want to play the game with the media and the fans of trying to work your way into their favour, fine, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But then you can't complain if you get criticised. And you can't complain if you're not held with more affection. So he can't have it both ways. If he wants to have a better public image, wants to have a better reputation among fans, play the game. Even though it might all be fake. You know, a lot of players who give it all the chat, you don't know how sincere they are. Often they're not. But if they care about the image, that's what they have to do. And he can't have it both ways.
No, well, even with his own teammates, they see him as a separate figure, it seems. His nickname is the golfer. He's more interested in golf and PlayStation than anything. And didn't...
and that was something else that was... Sorry to jump in. That was something else picked up from the weekend's game. That when he arrived at the stadium, he was filmed coming off the team bus. He had his tablet. He was watching a golf tournament. And you could say, so what? That doesn't matter. Because it's still, an hour and a half before kickoff. He probably knew he was a sub anyway. Yeah. But is that the way that you prepare for a game when you arrive at the stadium? If you're a completely committed professional, by watching, I don't care that it was golf, but watching something else as you stroll in, maybe that does help him relax and get focused. But it's that kind of thing that's being picked up on and held against him.
But Andy, it was the WGC in Mexico. It was a big tournament.
Yeah, followed it closely.
I saw as well that one of the nightly radio shows over in Spain, he was injured for a game. Richard Fitzpatrick was making this point as well in his piece in the Times, which is worth a read. And they were 1-0 down Madrid, and there was a video of him sneaking out of the stadium, being ferried out of there in his car on 78 minutes. The optics of that are dreadful.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't look good. That was a few weeks ago that he did that. He was filmed leaving early. And what's happening at the moment is because there's a tide of opinion against Bale, anything like that the media can jump on, they are.
Right.
Another player, maybe they'd overlook it. You mentioned the dinner that he missed, the team dinner that he decided not to go to because he thought it was too late. Tony Cruz didn't go either.
Yeah.
But he didn't get anywhere near as much stick for that because people like him. So why bother? It's okay, Tony, you can miss it. Gareth Bale can't miss it, do exactly the same thing. So those things are turning against him. And so we'll see tomorrow what kind of reception he gets from the fans.
Was he close to leaving in the summer? You mentioned he was upset at not starting the Champions League final. We know the impact he made when he came on. And Florentino Perez, who did sign him, certainly wants to keep him and seems to still be a big fan of him, and maybe he tried to persuade him to stay. But it seemed even in the post-match interview of the Champions League final, Bale made no secret of the fact that he was irritated he hadn't started. So I really must say, now that we're talking about it and I think back, it seemed like he was odds on to leave in the summer. Yeah.
Well, at that moment he was. But then two things happened. Zinedine Zidane left and Cristiano Ronaldo left, which at that time he obviously didn't know was going to happen, which meant that the manager who hadn't been picking him wasn't there, and the player who was taking up one of the three places in attack wasn't there. And so that's why he stayed, basically, because those two left.
Okay. Vinicius Jr. wasn't there either, so he seems to have arrived, 18 years of age. He seems to be dovetailing very nice with Benzema, is the word as well. Is it as simple as is Junior keeping him out of the team because Junior is undroppable at the moment? How good is this guy?
He is very good, and he is undroppable. But at some point, Solari's going to have to rest him, as he's played nearly every game in the last couple of months. And with these games coming thick and fast, you can't play everyone. You can't play anyone for 90 minutes every game.
Yeah.
So yes, he's locked down a place in the strongest 11 on the left wing, which leaves three players for the right wing. Bale, one of them. Lucas Vazquez, who seems to be the first choice, and Marco Asensio as well. There's also Isco, who's completely out of the picture. He's not even in the squad for this game tomorrow.
They've fallen out, haven't they? Solari and Isco, they're not talking.
Yeah, and that's happened because Isco's been repeatedly dropped. So why has he dropped him is the question. Does he just not fancy him? He doesn't like him as a player? Or has he been told from above not to play Isco because Isco will be leaving in the summer?
Right.
It would be very strange for Solari to have immediately decided, I dislike Isco so much I'm not even going to give him a chance, which he hasn't. It's probably coming from the president. There's one player, one winger can go into 3 positions, and Bale is having to take his time with it. Vinicius looks outstanding. He's only 10 games into his senior career, but he looks like an absolute superstar. With one caveat, he's not scoring enough goals. Yeah. He's not very good in front of goal. He's getting chances. There were 2 or 3 at the weekend. He should have scored at least one of them. His finishing is poor, but that's a quibble. He's by no means the end product, and as he develops, if he can improve in front of goal, he's going to be an absolute superstar. In the midst of all this, Benzema is scoring 1 goal in 2 games at the moment. Madrid have won 8 of their last 10 games. Has Solari settled the ship? Is he under less pressure? Yes, but let's see what happens this week. 2 games against Barcelona at home. If you lose both of them, then you're in real trouble. And the next game is the second leg of the Champions League against Ajax, which really they should cruise through. They're already 2-1 up from the first leg, so they should be fine. But no, he's not entirely comfortable at all, because every time it looks like they're getting on a run, they have another bad result. Like 10 days ago, they lost at home against Girona, who hadn't won in 10. So every now and then you get these big blips that make you think, well, actually, maybe they're not progressing, and they're just not playing very well still. The game against Levante this weekend, they didn't really deserve to win. They got a very controversial penalty that allowed them to win. Without that, they wouldn't have done, and they're just not playing that well very often. They had a spell maybe 6 weeks ago where things were starting to click, but they've just lost their way again since then. What about Barcelona? Where are they at the moment? They're okay. There are question marks over them, though. At the weekend against Sevilla, they won 4-2 in the end, but they were losing 2-1 till fairly late on, and then Messi decided to become Messi and scored one of his outrageous hat-tricks, and they came away with the win. But it shouldn't completely mask the fact that they're not playing that well. They were okay against Lyon in the first leg of the Champions League, but 0-0 draw. The tie is by no means won. So there are question marks. There are frailties. So we'll see. And my biggest concern with Barca is that Ernesto Valverde hasn't learned from last year, and he's burning out his key players by repeatedly playing them, and especially in the Copa del Rey. The Champions League is by far the biggest priority for Barca this season. And that's the one they want, having gone out in the quarterfinals the last 3 years. The league is pretty much already won. Yeah. So they could lose against Real Madrid on Saturday and it wouldn't really matter. They should really, I think, start preparing more determinedly for the Champions League, and that means resting players from time to time. And beyond Messi, who seems to be in fine form and scoring hat-tricks again, as you mentioned, who have their standout players been over the last couple of months? Who's stepping up? Yeah, Messi's maintained the fine form that he's been in for the last 14 years. And the others, one who's impressed me is at the back, Clement Lenglet, the French central defender, who only came into the team because Samuel Umtiti got injured, was out for a long time. But he's established a place now. Now Umtiti's just coming back. So does he stick with Lenglet, who's played so well, or would Umtiti come back in? It's a tough one because it's hard to leave out Lenglet for how well he's been playing. And alongside him, Gerrard Piqué has probably been the best player, which tells you a lot that they've needed him to be. Right. And Marc-Andre ter Stegen as well, the goalkeeper, has been in fabulous form. So they've been the best two for Barca, and the fact that it's been defenders shows you that they're not really clicking. Okay. And in the midst of all this is the potential €160 million spent on Philippe Coutinho looking like a bad buy, and they've written it off in their own minds at this stage. He seems almost not to feature. No, he's still playing. He's looking like a bad buy, but they haven't given up on him. Okay. They want to give him every opportunity to succeed. He is playing a lot. He'll probably find his playing time more limited now because Dembélé has just come back from injury, and he will probably be the first choice up front with Messi and Suarez. So, yeah, he just doesn't look like he knows his place in the team, what he's supposed to do. He slows things down. He takes too many touches. Right. He looks hesitant. He's got no confidence. But they're going to give him chances to succeed. They've definitely not written him off yet. Okay. Interesting week coming up. Andy, thanks a million. Pleasure. You're very welcome. Thank you as always.
Andy West there, the BBC's man over in Spain. We'll take a short break. I'll run you through full-time reports from the Premier League next.
Off the Ball on Newstalk.
Electric power, reliable and SUV styling. No wonder the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV is Ireland's most popular plug-in hybrid.
There's an important new law coming into effect on the 4th of March, which will change working practices for employers and employees. The Employment Miscellaneous Provisions Act means that employers must give employees core terms of employment within 5 days of starting work. 0-hours contracts will be restricted. There will be minimum payments for people called into work but sent home without work. A band of hours system will be introduced where an employee's contract does not reflect actual hours worked. And there are changes to some categories of the national minimum wage. These changes are designed to make work fairer for everyone. To find out more, visit www.welfare.ie, a Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection.
Epic entertainment awaits. Switch to Air today and get totally unlimited super-fast fibre broadband for just $39.99 a month. Plus the Air Sport Pack absolutely free. And all on a simple 12-month contract. For more on this epic offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only. $59.99 a month thereafter. Subject to availability. User experience may vary. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
It's giving your teammates a lift to training on Saturday morning.
Right, girls, everyone in?
The Sunday kickabout in the park, or a sneaky five-a-side after work. It's the Liverpool fan, hoping this is gonna be their year.
Yes!
As Coca-Cola, we're celebrating where everyone plays because we're a nation of super supporters. Share the passion. Coca-Cola, official soft drink partner of the Premier League.
Okay, so you're off to Dublin, maybe for an Aviva Stadium event, a concert or a show at the 3 Arena, RDS or Bord Gosh. You'll be needing a great place to stay, a place that's close to the entertainment and just minutes from Dublin city centre. A place with beautiful modern rooms, great bar and restaurant. A place you can book online and get the guaranteed best rates and offers direct. Well, thank goodness there's the Sandymount Hotel. Visit sandymounthotel.ie for details and bookings.
Now you have 3 great reasons to switch your family to VHI Healthcare. We're leading the way in family healthcare with our member-only access to VHI Swift Care clinics, faster access to our VHI Paediatric Clinic, and now you can get 25% off all kids under 18 on all our One plans until February 28th. Switch today. Call 1890 444444 or search VHI One plans. VHI Healthcare. When you need us, we're there. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to VHI Insurance DAC for health insurance in Ireland.
More affordable and cleaner than a diesel. No wonder the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV is Ireland's most popular plug-in hybrid.
Off the Ball. This is Newstalk.
Noel Cowell makes the point, as far as I know, Aguero doesn't speak English. He's longer in England than Bale has been in Spain. Yeah, it applies to him too. He probably should have made more of an effort, although there do seem to be more Spanish speakers around him. Bale seems very much like a lone wolf over in Madrid. Doesn't seem to be mixing with the team generally. Aguero seems a bit more integrated, a bit more part of things, but I guess we're all working off snapshots a little bit, aren't we, about what's going on behind the scenes. So before we wrap things up, let's run you through the Premier League evening. Not a stellar night, it has to be said, in terms of the teams playing, but plenty of goals. We'll start with Cardiff against Everton. This is Sam Fleet.
It's finished Cardiff 0, Everton 3. A troubling night for the Bluebirds, who look in real danger of relegation on this showing. Everton didn't play particularly well, but they didn't need to. 2 smart finishes by Gylfi Sigurdsson did the damage before a late third by Calvert-Lewin finished things off. Cardiff barely offered anything. There were a few boos in the home crowd at full time. I'm pretty sure in saying that was for the first time this season. It's finished Cardiff 0, Everton 3.
Now let's go over to Leicester. They had Brighton this evening. Derek Clark there.
full-time, Leicester City 2, Brighton 1. The Foxes get their first win in 7 games under the watchful eye of new boss Brendan Rodgers. Grieve fired the hosts ahead on 10 minutes after being played through by Yuri Tielemans. Jamie Vardy added a second on 63 minutes, rifling past Matt Ryan before Davy Proper pulled a goal back for Brighton 3 minutes later, but they couldn't find an equaliser and were made to rue 2 glaring opportunities missed by Glenn Murray. It's finished Leicester 2, Brighton 1.
And then Lee Stott standing by. Wolves away to Huddersfield this evening.
Huddersfield 1, Wolves 0. Huddersfield have a first win under Jan Sievert, courtesy of an injury time goal from Steve Mounier. He prodded it home after a goal-mouth scramble. It was a sloppy goal to end a low-quality game, but that's of no bother to the home team. They win for the first time in 3 months, and it offers them a small glimmer of hope that they could avoid relegation. It finished Huddersfield 1, Wolves 0.
And they haven't quite finished yet between Newcastle and Burnley, but Newcastle 2-0 up, and we're into the dying seconds there. Earlier on, we asked you to identify our mystery voice. It was, of course,
what started with, a bit of fun turned into anarchy, really. It was absolute carnage.
Peter Crouch, who, by the way, came on for Burnley this evening. Good on him, he's still going. Congratulations to Emmett McAviney, who has won tickets to the Premier League match of his choice next season. Terms and conditions apply. Well done, Emmett. If you missed out tonight, we'll give you another chance to win tomorrow, all with thanks to Coca-Cola's Be the 12th campaign. OTBAM live tomorrow, 7:45 on all our social channels. Owen Sheehan chatting with Johnny Sexton included in the OTBAM offering tomorrow. And then we're back at 7, Wednesday Night Rugby, Keith Wood and Eddie O'Sullivan. The man, the myth, the legend, Chemical Band will be in studio. And we'll have Nathan Murphy and Johnny Walters, who'll be over watching Man City against West Ham as well. So busy show tomorrow. Tom Dunn is on the way next.